Hello and welcome. And in this video, I want to talk about minimum stakes. What is the minimum bet if, say, I wanted to trade, let's talk about two coins that are extremely on the edge of, this could go way up, way down. It is speculative to big degrees. But in such, volatility has got a good chance of being extremely large. And yeah, I wonder if we cross two coins together, and the ones I mentioned recently are that of Go and Sky. But and you trade these on Binance, and let's assume you want to hold them yourself in your own hardware wallet, even for cheap amounts. What is the cheapest that I think is available, and it's cheaper than I thought, as I noticed, hey, the Binance coin. Okay, what does that have anything to do with it? Cheaper rate, yeah, it'll help a little bit, yes. But even more so, what would we get for bets? Let's take a look. First, we have Bitcoin. It's trading in at $8,166. It's 100,000 Satoshi minimum trade on Binance. So theoretically, if you're going to be making a swap, and I really do recommend selling 20% of your portfolio at the minimum. So you got to make sure that 20% is going to be worth at least the value at this time of $8.20. Okay, well, that will help us in figuring out what the minimum need is. Okay, well, that should help us right from that point on. Let me just get another exchange up for Bitcoin. Let's assume that it's $8.17 and that's 20%. Well, if that's the case, I'd have a value of about $42 of one coin. And I need 42 of the other as well. So I would need about $84. Problem is, as the values switch with the markets, and especially if your coins go down, then you will actually have a spot where 20% may not be 100,000. You may want to have a bit more than that. So just to ensure a little bit, I'd like to even double that. So I would think you would need a little over $80 per coin, or about 160 plus total to enter the game. But again, like I said earlier, I think it's lower than that because of the Binance coin. And by the way, Bitcoin has got a major breakout happening. Please go to 10,000 soon. But you know what? The market will do what it does. And thank you, Universe, for having the availability to be able to trade the crypto market. Moving on. The Binance coin is $34.14. And there's a Binance exchange, and it handles both the coins of Go and Sky. And its minimum bet is zero point 0.1 Binance coin. Well, that now reduces it to $3.41. So that changes everything. So that means you would need about $35 or so. And we double that again to 70, 80, almost $100 could actually work. You could probably, what I would do is say, okay, I want to put $90 into this right now, 90 US dollars. Okay, well, you're going to need to get some way. You're going to have to get cryptos on Binance, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, whatever it have to do. Whatever coin it is that you get, you're going to want to sell for Binance coin and sell it all for the BNB. And then you're going to set up your account so that, and you can do this even beforehand probably as well. Before you even do this, you would set it up so that you want to be active on the Binance coin cheaper trading, and then you get like 0.75%, which, or 0.075%. It's extremely close to nothing. So then what you would do is you would then take about 49%, maybe a little more, 49.1% maybe, 49.2% of your Binance coin, and you'd buy one coin. And with that same amount, you would buy the other one, leaving a little bit of Binance coin back, but you don't need much, especially if you're trading at those small level figures. You're going to need a little bit of Binance coin to pay for the rake, and the rake is going to be so small that playing at microscopic stakes makes the rake even that much more microscopic. Oh well, that's microscopic as well. So you really aren't going to need too many of the BNBs, especially after your first few trades when you enter in and you see how much BNB you pay to buy your BNB, how much you did to buy your Sky, buy your Go, and then you only it's a very small amount, and you don't need to have that much. So maybe keep like of the what you maybe put like 99% of what you keep 99% of your Binance coin, or keep 1% of your Binance coin, spend the other 99% of the two coins. So the two coins that you'd be trading in the speculative game, and there might be other better ones. So if you find better ones, by all means, the whole point is to find coins that are uh, very amazing as far as volatility. It can have sick up and down moves. And within it, I think Go offers that as well. But you also want to have very cheap withdrawals because even if you're playing at small stakes, I think it's still good to get into the habit of learning how to get a wallet. With Go, this would be a web wallet where you are going to be saving private keys, like private keys is in like 12 different words. You will have to have a password set up, and off you go. And within in it, learn how to use the wallet, play around with sending coins back and forth, and it's dirt cheap to send. So therefore, it's uh, it's worth it because that's something you just want to do. Is you don't want to spend a lot to get them to and off of an exchange. And in this case, it's going to take several of these transfers to accumulate that of a penny. That's what's so magnificent. And it's fast transfers, extremely fast. So you're on the market, you're like, oh, it's I want to make a trade, I want to send my Go to Binance. It doesn't take long. And that's good for two reasons because you just want to get you the job done. You see you need to trade, you got things to do. You don't even want to do this because it's in work and it's investing, but you know what? You need to do it if you want to be investing, of course. And so then you go in there, you make the transfer, you make the sale, you make the buy, you transfer the new coins out. Because what you'd be doing if you were to say sending Go to Binance, you'd be selling it to buy the other coin. Probably because this is going up, but the other one's going way down. And or I should be on saying as well. But you'd send it, you take a couple minutes, you buy the other coins. The whole process may only take you about 10. Within a coin like Sky, you need to download a program for this. And you have to synchronize the wallet. And that can suck because that can take a long time. And this isn't going to be fast to synchronize it for the first time, but it's not going to be really slow either. You could download a Bitcoin, or especially Bitcoin, I guess. I haven't done that though. Litecoin, which I have. Oh, that was slow. Well over a day. Uh, NLC2, I downloaded that one once. That was a good close to a day. Another one was so bad it was probably going to be a day or two. I just stopped it. This one's a good hour, maybe hour and a half. So it'll take a little bit of time, but not much. And then if you don't load it for a couple of 3 days, it might take 4 seconds to synchronize. It'll just be fast at that point. In fact, I opened it today for the first time in a couple of days, and it literally took a couple seconds to synchronize. Sending coins back and forth again, extremely cheap on this, extremely fast, and therefore you can get in, you can get out. But another reason why fast is good is because when the movements are extremely fast, let's just take a look at the 1 minute time frame at some previous moments where it's like, oh, I'm glad it was a situation where it was fast right in here. Let's just say it worked out that if it could get to like over 209, you were waiting in here for it, didn't happen, and now, oh, you see it happening in here. It's going to it. If you got in here, it was easy, but let's just assume that you got in on it just as it was breaking on this 126 minute. Well, it's going to take about a minute and change, so you should get it by 128. So you would have had it here 213, you sell, done. And then it goes down. So that's one other reason why I like to see it go fast. And those can work in two ways. Because the way I look at it, say you are waiting for a break above that number, waiting for a break above 209, 210. So you send it when it does. Okay, that's fantastic. If it's going to be fast, then you can see here that you would get an upper number, where if it was like a lot of other coins, it might have been this or worse. But, and again, when I say worse, it could be like an hour plus, to the point where maybe you don't get it until like down in here. But at the same point, maybe half hour later, this thing is at 244. So it can work both ways with slow times. But when you see it's in that area, and a lot of times I can see moments where you want to have those coins now. And if you don't have them now, if a minute or two is usually fair enough, and oftentimes it is, then that's why I like to have coins like this. And it's good to understand how the blockchains and all this type of stuff work maybe for you. And by doing these exercises, you're actually going to be understanding a lot of it just when you're just moving coins back and forth and understanding the public keys, private keys, why, what's your best storage for having the coins move on there. But when you look at the mathematical realisticness of these odds for playing these coins, you can consider this. These coins are like dirt cheap, just a few hundred Satoshi. I've seen coins go from like hundreds to like 6,000, 7,000 so many times before, and even better than that. What I'm saying is a 30x gain on those coins is fantastic. And let's just look at mathematics as it is. If you could get altcoins that you buy against Bitcoin, and you buy it so cheap, it's up 30 times. You're like, oh my goodness, I have 30 times the amount of Bitcoin that I had in whatever number. That's a magnificent trade. And it is. So that is, and if you just buy it and do nothing and hold it, wait, that is good. But we're trying to outperform doing that. And in turn, trying to make it so that we can profit in sideways and some and very small bear markets, albeit maybe small profits. But before we get into that, if you notice, this goes up 30 times because the coins go from like 200 to 6,000. Then what's going to happen with the price of Bitcoin? Maybe the price of Bitcoin goes from 8,000 to that of 80,000. Well, that's now worth 300 times more in dollars. Well, that's even a better fantastic trade now. I mean, how many people are looking for gains much smaller than that and still excited? And I want to go further than that. And this is what I hope for in the markets. It does what it does. But when these amazing times happen and Bitcoin is well above 20,000, I'm hoping it's a many a hundred a days away. Because that gives me opportunity when these markets move up and down for me to try to increase the amount of these coins that I get. And if I'm lucky and fortunate enough, and that's where the whole speculation on this comes in, where they actually do go up, well, they're going to go up and down at different times. That maybe I can over 700 days or 500, even 300 days with right times, because when the best 100 and 150 day gaps come together, that's where you make a lot of good gains. But in that being said, I could gain 7 times more on one coin, maybe 9 times more of the other, and then have 8 times the amount of coins that I started with. Thus, I'd be looking at 2,400 times gains. And that's pretty good. And if you started with about $100, well, that would be about $250,000. And just a very small, lucrative investment. And then you started with 1,000. Well, now you're talking where you could get 2.5. And it might be a pipe dream, and I look at it as in probability odds. What's the odds that the cryptocurrency markets actually work? Meaning they go 20,000, 60,000 Bitcoin, so on and so forth. And then you want to calculate odds of what's the chances of these coins just going up. Now, one way of looking at it is the fact they're on Binance. That's just one simple thing in itself. Now, this isn't enough to say it's going to be good and it's going to work. But the fact that they're on Binance means that they're strict on coins to come in, that if they see anything where it looks like any type of fraud or scam coin to the best of their knowledge, they're not going to accept it. So you realize that you've already had the Binance team go through those stages to accept those coins. So that's been done by those people. What they've done and seen, you know what? I don't know. And I'm not going to try to find out either. So that's going to at least help you for the probability odds for the altcoins to do well. And then you can throw in many, many different factors as well, like, well, I said 80,000 Bitcoin. How about 160,000 or more? That's twice as much or 2.5 times as much. So we could be good. And then what happens if you did 12 or 14x? Because the whole point of this is how big can that x gain get? And if you get 800 days, and more importantly, that amazing volatile peak times where maybe one coin just has a huge gain over, say, a period of maybe 14 days, where it does like a 8x move. And the other coin, because it had doubled the previous day, started its decline. And so that previous day, you were fortunate enough to gain these coins, we'll say. Or more of them will, anyway. And then seller like crazy. And then when this peak ends, and say, uh, you and notice that you have a 3 day period where this just does this, and this goes way down. Yeah, your other coin actually was in a period where it broke a level of resistance, and then, oh, it did that. And maybe it won't be a perfect harmony that they go up and down together, but those situations can come into play. But even when they just go sideways and they go down like this, you're able to get the trade backs back and forth. And then they go sideways for a bit. Then this goes up while this goes sideways. Okay, so now I'm selling this to buy some more of this again. And then this has a little bit of retracement day. Well, this barely goes up, so I'm going to buy some more of this back and sell. And then now this goes up and this continues to go sideways. And things like that is what I'm looking to get. But all these gains come in a compounded form. Therefore, you're going to start the game off. Maybe you're selling 20 of something and you're getting back 137. And then you get a buyback. Oh, sweet. That's amazing. I'm going to. So that was a minus 20, and we'll say, yeah, that's a minus 20 and a plus 137. So I'm going to put a minus here and a plus here. So now you gained 137 last time. You know what? Let's sell 100 and, I don't know, let's go 120. So I'm going to keep 17. And in here, I'm going to get back maybe, say, 22.5. So now I gained 2.5. And of course, it's going to be more volatile times where you can be like, oh, I'm going to make a bigger play. I'm going to, instead of a 25% move, I was fortunate enough to see, wow, this thing went up like 40% in 2 minutes. And then thankfully I was away, and then it went up another 30% more. When those events happen, and they'll happen from time to time, and then you can go, okay, so instead of selling 20% of what I got because of the 25% move, I'm looking at a 57% move or a 59% move. Well, let's just sell maybe 30% of them now, or 29%, 28%. So just sell a bit more and get a better return on the higher amount that you're selling. And thus, you get the higher volatility when that comes into play. I relish that, because I would rather a market go up double and then lose half of its value, or triple and then lose half its value, than for it to go up 30% and then and then have a 15% decline after that, stuff like that. So, again, when you start with 120 and 137, you're going to notice that maybe on trade number 40 of your life, and maybe on day number 517 or whatever, that next thing you know, you're selling 89 of these, and you're getting back 475 because you own more. And before, maybe you had 100 ownership of this because you sold 20%. And maybe you had, say, 624 at the time. So you would have added this to 761. Well, now, at this stage, maybe you have, well, 9, 8, maybe you have, like, say, 577 of them. That's why you're trading 89. And in this case, maybe you got 2,260 of them. So that's where those percentages would come into play. But again, when you have, but from obviously from this point forward, is that if you were able to get to this stage, well, you would have turned 100 into 577, we'll say. So you do 5.7 higher. And if you're able to turn 620 into 24, that's 3 times higher, or whatever, you're going to have it like that. So maybe 4 or 5 times more. But now, when you do moves from this point on, you're going to be compounding it with this. So if you could do another 4x move, that means instead of selling about 90, you'll be selling about maybe 330, depending, of course, on the ratio scale. But now you're going to be seeing, yep, I'm going to be getting 1,755 of these now when you started the game with 624. And if you play this endless loop, continuing on this way, like in this point, and you're able to do it for, like, say, 6 or 8 thousand consecutive days, then you could almost break the bank, as they would say. Now, in reality, when you break the bank, if you were to do it, which I mean, that really couldn't happen, then you get to the stage where you would notice that you're noticing more and more that you could actually move the market bits and pieces. You can start before you can't even move it at anything at all. You can only take portions of an order. That's all you can do to start. And then you might get to the point where it becomes common where you have to fulfill 2 or 3 order fills to fill an order. So maybe a market's at, say, 2160, you have to fill the 2160, the 2161, the 2162. And then levels after that, you're like, oh my goodness, now I have to strategically try to buy and sell numbers, or I can't sell as many. That's what would happen and stuff like that. But if you ever get to that stage, congratulations, because that in itself is almost impossible from low stakes. Keyword is almost. Because if you would have used this strategy with coins like, say, GRS and DGB back in the day at the cheaper prices in the early days, and you stuck with it, and you never took major profit taking, then turning like $100 would have been probably worth like over 20 million, 25 million in 2017 if you were really good at this art. If the timing of it, because when I do simulations, I'm only doing stuff at like the 8 o'clock time close, or the 7 o'clock, whatever it is. So if you're there at 8 o'clock in the morning, you're there at 4 in the afternoon, you're there before this, and you're seeing that, you're active. You got alerts going on like crazy. You got yourself so professional, kick ass, that you got all things in line. You got yourself a pro at buying and selling, understanding that, okay, we're at a point where I can make a trade now, but it's so probable that this one coin's going to have a little bit of a decline soon. I'm going to wait 15 minutes. Doing all these different types of advanced things just makes it more and more better. But the whole point of any type of trading mechanism within the market, and you get the gains, it can all be compounded. And when you have 10 times gains, you technically can be making 10 times higher trades and bets, although sometimes when you get gains, there is profit taking, and you're like, well, now I don't want to risk a 17% unit size anymore with a much larger bankroll, meaning I'm going to bet 17% of what I got on this play here, and I only want to bet 5% because I'm worth so much more, different things like that. But yeah, if you want to play these types of coins cheap, it can be done. And I think that's really important for situations like, let's say you're in high school. Although, with that, I mean, make sure you know the terms and conditions about Binance accounts, so on and so forth. Maybe you have a parent who can make trades for you when needed, or all that type. You know what I'm talking about there. But if you want to learn, if if you, even if you're 30, 34, and you're like, yeah, I wouldn't mind learning how to do this, and maybe you can easily come up with $60 worth of Bitcoin, and you put it onto your Binance deposit address, and you do everything like I mentioned, and you really don't have much of a risk at all. In fact, maybe you're going to the bar that night, and your bill's going to be double that, or a few drinks. Maybe you go to a hockey game. It's going to be quad five, six, eight times that amount. In fact, the next hockey game is going to be very expensive. St. Louis Blues at the Boston Bruins in the Stanley Cup Finals. But that's, of course, next if you're watching this post, like near the upload date. But I'm not going on too long. So I want to just really yeah, if you want to understand everything the best you can, how markets work, how the bid asks work, the math, like understanding the math of why you can make those spectacular gains, simulate this over and over again. I've done so many situations in here where I've done the buy low, sell high in the video game. For this was a quick little example, and what it was is, okay, you have a ratio of 2.63. This was pennies worth at the time. Pennies worth. Like 50, 60, 70 cents. So if I would have made, I should have had like maybe uh, I don't know, like 50,000 GRS and like 100 plus thousand of the DGB to start. So keeping that in mind and looking at percentage gain, basically what I would do is I'd wait for the ratio to change to its next level. It's at 263. And you'd see on the third day it would go down to 1.48, where that means the value of one coin is doing better than the other. And in this case, it meant that DGB was doing better. So of 2,600, maybe I go out and sell maybe like 650 of them. And then I'd have that much less, and I'd have more. And then maybe the next day it goes up 51%, the whole point of what I'm doing it. And then I could just flip the trade. And then just keep going from there. But I'm going to move forward to the very end. I got 1,000 of these and 2,730. I'm just going to flip back and forth, and you're going to see how fantastic these gains are. On day 239, I'd have 774 of these and 14,700 of the DGB, only flipping them back and forth. On day number 512, I own about 10,000 GRS and over 30,000 of the DGB, and things are only picking up. Into the third year, or day 7741, would have 6,224 GRS, DGB 135,406. Last trades sell at 1344. Then I had a big move up to 2893. Had to sell. Got a little bit of a buyback now at 1957. On day number 918, over 25,000 of the GRS and over 1/8 of a million, 125,000 DGB. Now, on day number 1005, I came close to getting a million DGB, 919,755, and 6,143 of the GRS. And after buying at 10, selling at 20, selling at 51, the next day it goes down to 31. I'm going to have to sell DGB. And on day 1026 and many trades later, 1.1 million DGB, 8,300 of the GRS. And then on day number 1472, 1.5 million DGB and 28,233 of the GRS. And the net result, well, the GRS, which started off with 1,000, ended with, well, not ended, but at that point it was 28,000. 28.2 times more, overperforming the market on the XYZ for the X. And then DGB 567.4 times, because you start off with 2,600, it got up to 1.489 million. And I guess if you want to put down some sort of average, maybe somewhere between like 1 and 200 maybe. Times, okay, so the market, so you did X equals 200, okay. Oh, geez, how much is both? Well, they're up a lot. I mean, these were when they were microscopically worth like close to nothing. So, what's GRS is like what 5,000 or so now. So that would be about And we're looking at maybe 75 times. And Bitcoin back then might have been like, say, we'll say 300-400. So that's up like over like 25 times. XYZ's a big number. So I guess if you do well, maybe you could come away and maybe find a way to make 375,000 times on your money back. But the results are based on the game. It's a matter of division when you take two coins. How many people really care about what the ratio of GRS and DGB is? I do. And maybe a couple other people on this channel because of me might, but not too many. And then how many people truly do care about, at least at the start of the recording of this video, the ratio of Sky and Go? Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.